Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are completely demystifying one of the absolute coolest topics in biology, control and coordination. We're going to look closely at exactly how humans and plants respond to the constantly changing environments around them. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's start things off with a scenario you've definitely experienced. What actually happens when you accidentally touch a scorching hot pan? I mean, you don't just stand there and ponder it, right? No, you pull your hand away instantly. That split-second reaction is the absolute perfect real-world example of biology in action. It's the ultimate demonstration of your body communicating with itself to keep you safe. Here is our quick roadmap for today. 1. Control and coordination. 2. Human nervous system. 3. Neurons and reflex actions. 4. Plant tropism. 5. Hormones and the endocrine system. And finally 6. Exam prep and quick tricks. All right, section 1, control and coordination. So the foundational definition we need to lock in is this. Control and coordination is the process of making different body organs work together correctly and coordinating their functions. Think back to that hot pan example. Your skin felt the heat, your arm muscles had to physically move, and a signal had to instantly connect the two. That seamless communication, getting all the different pieces of your body's hardware to act as one unified system, well, that is exactly what coordination is. Moving on to section 2, the human nervous system. You can basically think of the nervous system as your internal, ultra-high-speed fiber optic network, and it's broken down into 3 main hardware components. First up, we have the brain, which is, of course, the absolute main control center. Second is the spinal cord. This acts as the major highway sending messages between the brain and the body while also independently controlling your reflexes. And third, we've got the nerves themselves. These are the literal physical cables carrying those messages from one part of your body to another. And the division of labor happening inside your head right now is honestly brilliant. The forebrain handles all your conscious thoughts. So thinking, memory, intelligence, and every voluntary action you make. Meanwhile, your midbrain is quietly handling reflexes related to vision and hearing. And finally, the hindbrain is running all those automated survival tasks you never even have to think about, like maintaining your balance, breathing, and keeping your heartbeat perfectly steady. Section 3. Neurons and reflex actions. Meet the neuron, or nerve cell. This is the fundamental building block of the nervous system. Imagine it as a microscopic messenger wire with 3 very distinct parts. First, the dendrites. They act kind of like antennas to receive incoming messages. Then, that raw information gets passed to the cell body, which processes it. Finally, the axon takes that processed message and shoots it forward to the next destination. It's essentially a highly efficient, one-way microscopic relay race. So let's see how this builds into a reflex action. This is when you respond to a stimulus instantly, without a single conscious thought, like touching that hot object or getting dust in your eye. View the reflex arc as a literal emergency rescue mission. It kicks off with a stimulus, which is detected by a receptor. That message zips up the sensory neuron, but right here is the true genius of the system. Instead of traveling all the way up to the thinking forebrain to ask for permission, the message goes straight to the spinal cord. The spinal cord instantly fires a command right back down a motor neuron to the effector, like your arm muscle, telling it to pull away. It completely bypasses your brain to save you precious milliseconds. Section 4. Plant tropism. Now you might be wondering, how do plants coordinate their responses? They don't have brains or nerves, right? Well, the answer is that plants rely entirely on hormones to trigger tropic movements. These are growth movements either towards or away from a stimulus. Check out how plants navigate their world. If the stimulus is light, the plant bends toward it. That's called phototropism. If it's gravity directing the roots downwards, that's geotropism. Roots actively seeking out water is hydrotropism. And a vine wrapping around a fence in response to touch, that is thigmotropism. It's definitely a slower chemical-based coordination, but it is incredibly effective. All right, section 5, hormones and the endocrine system. Let's switch back to humans. While our nervous system is like a network of fast, hardwired cables, hormones are much more like a widespread Wi-Fi broadcast. Hormones are chemical messengers. They're released directly by endocrine glands and travel through your blood to the entire body to regulate various processes. They don't act instantly like a reflex does, but their effects are massive and long-lasting. So what are these chemical messengers actually doing? Well, highly specific chemicals control huge bodily functions. The pituitary gland releases growth hormone to regulate your overall size and growth. The thyroid gland releases thyroxine to manage your metabolism. The pancreas releases insulin, which is absolutely vital for keeping your blood sugar in check. And the adrenal gland releases adrenaline to prep your entire body for emergency situations.
Let's actually zoom in on adrenaline for a second. It's famously known as the fight or flight hormone. It gets dumped into your system during moments of intense fear, stress, or even extreme excitement. When this chemical hits, your physical symptoms change drastically and almost immediately. Your heart rate increases to pump more blood, your blood pressure spikes, and your breathing gets much faster to pull in more oxygen. It is quite literally preparing your body to either fight off a threat or run away as fast as humanly possible.
Which brings us to the big face-off between our two control systems. This is a classic high-value exam comparison, by the way. The nervous system provides a super fast response using electrical signals via nerves, but the effect is very short-lived. In contrast, the hormonal system gives a slower response using chemical signals traveling through the blood, but the effects have a much longer duration. Understanding this contrast is an absolute must.
Section 6. Exam prep and quick tricks.
Okay, let's talk strategy. Based on everything we've decoded today, here are the essential questions you need to nail. For 1 mark, know your core definitions. What's a neuron? What's a reflex action? Which gland secretes insulin? For 2 marks, be ready to explain the step-by-step reflex arc or list what the forebrain does. For 3 marks, you might need to break down the parts of the nervous system or explain tropic movements in plants. And for those big 5-mark questions, make sure you practice drawing the human nervous system diagram and can fully explain the differences between hormonal and nervous control.
And finally, I want you to take a mental screenshot right now. These word associations are your ultimate cheat sheet. When you hear brain, think control. Spinal cord, think reflex. Neuron equals message. Hormones equal chemical messenger, and adrenaline equals emergency. If you can mentally lock in these simple pairs, I promise you, the complex details will just easily flow right back to you during your test. We've covered a ton of ground today, from the electrical sparks jumping through our nerves to the chemical signals flowing through plants and our own bloodstream. So I want to leave you with this thought. Next time you feel a sudden jump scare, your heart racing, your breath quickening, ask yourself, is this your conscious brain doing the thinking, or is this just your biology and your adrenaline completely taking over the wheel to keep you safe? Keep questioning how your incredible body works. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me today.